Good evening, viewers. Welcome to Issues at Hand, WBS TV. Your host, Peter Chivazo. Our second edition of this program this year. Yeah, the year is running down. Someone told me that the month will be done in about a week or so, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, we just walked into January. And not a very beautiful one if you're a journalist in this city. Not the best way to usher in the year, but someone says sometimes those are the pains of the trade. With me this evening, I'm joined by a colleague inside WBS. Not one of those many times you ask a colleague onto the set, but who better to give us the picture than one of ourselves. I'm joined by Joseph Sabiti from here in WBS Studios, and viewers, certainly, we are dealing with what happened yesterday and what is consistently becoming a pattern in journalism in this country. It happens once, it happens the second time, and then you carry on, life goes on. Sometimes the journalists are too complacent, for want of a better word. Sometimes we will sing the song of others very loud, we will fight for the others, and we will never fight for ourselves. Joseph, welcome.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
I know getting you off the whole process of running day and saying stay around for issues at hand, but it's a cause that we have to front, and thank you very much. And we are joined by the police spokesman, Simon Enanga. Welcome, Simon. Fred. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Kivazo.
Right, we should have been joined as well by Afande Andrew Kawesi. For some reason he's not here, but Fred is here, and I think we'll go right ahead. Joseph, I'll start on the purely emotional angle of this. You've had the opportunity to talk to Andrew Luanga today and yesterday. Give us your gut feel of where he's at and what he's going on, and if you were in his position, would you be running away from journalism today?
Peter, the truth is I got to Mulago about an hour after the entire incident, and what I found was a colleague connected to a cylinder of oxygen that actually means at some point he was on life support, and we found him in really bad shape. His head was swollen and a number of syringes inserted into his arm, which means there was actually a struggle to get him talking again. And Andrew is somebody who is very cheerful. In the newsroom, we know him as someone who rarely keeps quiet. He's always making someone happy. From yesterday up to this evening when I last saw him, he was barely saying anything. Actually, the doctors advised that we return tomorrow since he's not able to really talk. And so what was clear was that he was severely affected. I'm not a doctor to go into the details, but even the medic we spoke to says, yes, we can confirm that he's in pain, and we are trying to handle that. He also has some psychological issues that we need to look at. And so as we speak right now, actually comparing how Andrew was at Mulago yesterday before being discharged and how he looked this morning, he looked in more pain than he was yesterday. So I can say the situation looks worse than it was.
Fred, you visited Andrew, or one of my friends said you did. I need to start with the emotional bit before I get to the grit of the facts. By any chance, when you were there, give us your emotional feel.
Yeah, of course it felt bad. Andrew is a colleague. I've worked with him. The fact that we are in the media department of the police, and we relate very, very closely with the journalists entirely. So, you know, when it happens to somebody whom you closely work with on a daily basis, you engage and it doesn't sound okay. So it was hurting, deeply hurting to the police as well. I took the initiative. After, of course, the press conference, I visited him. He was transferred to Zambia, the new surgical ward. And he's still lying down, and you have to aid him to take juice. And that is how it is. But I felt him, I held his hand, and I talked to him. And what I realized is he can recognize a voice, but he's not yet into that state. He's still unstable because he can't recognize somebody's face. So he's still in that state. But the consultants who are handling him have given us some words of encouragement. And I met the mom, Jennifer Wanga, and she's actually strong, and we're all behind Andrew.
Fred and Joseph, that emotional beat is supposed to give the human beat of this. But we've been through this. At WBS, this is not the first time we are losing equipment at the hands of the police. When my friend Judith was at your office, it had become, I know what to expect. I know the regret, I know the remorse, I know the commitment. I don't know whether commitment, but I know that you will finally come through and replace a camera. I'll come back to Sabiti on the commitment of the journalists to fight the abuse against journalists. But when I get to that, I'm hearing the same story. We've suspended the officer. But look at the events subsequent. Today, after the event yesterday, the abuse, regrettable as it was, today the journalists set out to go and take a simple statement to the Inspector General or the Inspector General's office. And the reaction of the police, in gravity not the same as yesterday, but in real sense, very much the same. You can't get there. We will stop you at Ginger Road. We will finally tear gas you. And I'm thinking, okay, these guys are saying we regret what happened yesterday. But they are still exerting brute force on people armed with simple biros. I mean, tell me the sense of remorse, the purgative sense of regret of yesterday and the reaction of today.
No, the incidents, the way you're summing them up, that is what basically happened before we went into the press conference. And of course, when it came to the attention of management, of course, we had to take action pretty fast. Because, you know, you cannot get to monitor whatever action is done by your officers on the ground, because there are different levels at which the police gets involved on a daily basis. And it's until you get this information that you get to take certain action. Eventually, the journalists came in peacefully. And initially, when they planned the procession from the GEMA offices, okay, even if it was without permission and clearance, they were given some form of protection by the police. And the RPC, that is Bakari K, when he learned that the officers, due to poor command and control at the level at Ginger Road, he intervened, and the journalists came in, and we had this press conference where we, of course, took blame completely for what happened, and then we came out with what action had been taken, and we even traced the family to get to a field with them. And that is where we are.
Sabiti, you've been in the field. You've been in the field.
Yes,
Fred is talking to you. Just hold there, Fred. Would you believe him?
The statements he's making actually make me pity the police force of this country. Peter, when the spokesperson of a force sits here and says because of problems in command, remember here we are not dealing about the junior police officers who are in charge of these operations. We have actually, today, one of our colleagues, again, Kenneth Bwire, was pepper sprayed, held and pepper sprayed. Again, by somebody whom, when they bring the clip, is not below the rank of a DPC. And so the question is, what exactly is happening? Actually, what Fred is not telling you, Peter, that today, actually, Robert Sempala was arrested. He had been arrested on the way to police headquarters. So it took the intervention of journalists and, of course, the media solidarity to actually get him out. Actually, when he went to police headquarters, my colleagues reliably tell me Robert had no shirt. When we first called him to come for an interview here, he had no shirt. So we are seeing a force that is doing the usual rhetorics of we regret, we have suspended him, and investigations will continue, the culprits will be brought to book. But Peter, since 2013, on average, not less than 50 journalists are assaulted in this country by men in uniform, most times by senior police officers. When you look at the history consistently, you find it very hard to believe what my brother Fred is saying.
Fred, the pictures you're looking at, and they'll show you the pepper spraying. I keep asking, because this is what has happened over quickly backwards 4 years. The police has worn journalists' jackets, purely intended on abusing the process. Because we captured a policeman later in uniform, but initially in a WBS jacket, marked WBS. We realize he's not one of us, and later he reappears in police uniform around the time of walk to work. And we thought, okay, that's possibly one of those. Then now the police has gone, destroyed equipment, hit journalists, because yesterday it was spread across media houses. WBS was worst hit because Ruanga was hit harder, but Bukede, they had one hit. There was a radio journalist who lost a recorder. And I'm thinking, yesterday was bad. Then today, you build on that. And I'm thinking, what is it? Just tell us the gut. When you sit in a management meeting, what is your problem with the media?
Certainly there isn't any problem. And Chibazo, you know very, very well that this last year and towards even the end, there has been a very, very good relationship between the media and the police. That other protester violence whereby we used to run after journalists' cameras and equipments, that is something that died out because of the progress that the police has actually made in appreciating and understanding the basic human rights of all stakeholders, including the citizens. And I'm really worried that if we go with this level of discussion, because Sabit is telling me that Robert, and he's a journalist, he's telling me that Robert was arrested without a shirt. We didn't arrest anybody today. Robert and the other colleagues had temporarily been blocked due to poor command at Ginger Road. And they were cleared after the intervention of the RPC.
Just hold there.
Okay.
Please explain to me this concept of poor command. I was talking to Afande Kawesi today, and he tries to explain a few things, but tell me, what is this poor command that you talk about?
Like, of course, here you have management. There's where you consult on a number of issues, where you need guidance. And that is the same thing that happens with the police in the structure. There are different levels at will when you find yourself in a difficult situation where you can't effectively take decision. You have to consult your seniors, your superiors, and you're guided on how to handle that situation. And that is what was basically
Peter, just a quick rejoinder to Afande Fred Enanga here on the question of whether or not they had arrests today. If you're somebody who is very active on social media, on Twitter, there were actually those announcements made. Actually, I am informed the decision to drive Robert to police headquarters was made after actually the director of operations, Andrew Kawesi, intervened. But if it had been at the level of those officers who were directly handling the operations, I can reliably tell you that my colleague Kenneth Bwire was held and pepper sprayed. We had evidence here. And so the question that is disturbing is, this is a force that is saying we regret what happened yesterday, okay?
But we top it up today.
Yeah, but we top it up today. We pepper spray another journalist from another media house, and then we get Sempala. It takes Afande Kawesi to get him to police headquarters. You should have heard from people who were on the ground. And that is really worrying. When you're saying we regret, we are investigating, okay? The journalism fraternity is really charged right now. What we want to see is serious action against the suspended DPC. And when you suspend a colleague, then another one comes and pepper sprays another journalist from the same media house. That really sends, that I call a PR disaster.
Anyway, I totally disagree with this. Because like the journalists we have today, you're actually as informed. And you know most of the procedures very, very well. I know that, yes, the network, the Foundation for Human Rights Network for Journalists, is one of those, associations that networks, connects, and fights for the rights of journalists. But again, what was what really caused the fracas at Ginger Road. These are journalists who actually, following the incident that happened yesterday, mobilized themselves, and having known that, in fact, if you want to carry out any form of demonstration, however peaceful, and also there are instances whereby you are supposed to be regulated and given clearance by the police. These are journalists who mobilized at the GEMA offices downtown and started marching all the way.
How many days does that notice take? How long would they need
It's
to
something
notify
like
you?
3 days. 3 days or so. But
So-
then,
so
you are
this
journalists.
is
No,
what you're
Chivazo,
telling me.
Let's
Fred,
get serious.
Fred,
with it.
Fred,
You
yeah.
are journalists.
I am
I don't
emotional
want
on
us
this.
to argue because it is an
No,
emotional
I am
thing.
emotional
But
on
you
this,
also have
but
to
I'm
get
also holding
considerate
back.
of the way that journalists really carry out their
So
work.
you're telling me
You get it?
the event happened yesterday, and you're saying, guys, hold your peace, go back and sleep, notify us within 3 days, and come to us. And because you haven't done that, we will painfully take action, spray a few of you, strip one of you of the shirt, and then later we'll
Yeah, we'll
intervene
apologize.
and come back and look.
Yeah.
But now, let me also ask you something. These are journalists who didn't seek any police protection. What would have happened if at all there was anything in the middle of town where they were planning to do their procession without getting to know that maybe there is this level of security?
About how many
concern
were there?
under? 40.
40.
That's already a procession.
Yes.
And
of
you
the
very
40
well
of
as
them,
journalists
as
know
you followed
the
them,
governing laws which are there,
here.
as far as
as
such
you followed
processions
them
are
from
concerned.
Mengo, the GEMA office, up to Ginger Road, there was police escort through the chain.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No,
And there was
it came
no
in at-
practical
it came in at
incident.
CPS.
Really, there wasn't much incident except
If-
actually the police.
It came in at CPS, okay? And now, this is why I come and tell you that sometimes when there is no proper coordination, okay? Because it is like we should now let journalists just wake up any morning because they are journalists, they should do, without informing the process of any plans that they do have, to do their procession because they are journalists. Because you are a special case, that's what you're trying to show me.
Actually, they are not
And yet
seeking
you
to be
help
special.
us. You do help us in bringing out some of these excesses when we are handling other groups of maybe like different
Fred,
rioters.
did they
and
commit
so
an
on
offense?
and so forth
Did they
and so
commit an
forth.
offense?
Of course, you know it is illegal.
Did you
Okay.
arrest them?
We didn't.
Why?
We didn't arrest
Why?
them. There was only an attempt to get to tell them, please stop at this stage, because it is something that can easily turn into a riotous situation.
You see,
remember
I want you to go the full
remember
distance. If they've committed an offense, arrest them, charge them for it. If you think they haven't, and you really are gutted that they are doing within their rights, give them the protection, give them the escort. You give them an escort up to a certain point, and you think now it is the time to disband them. They are out of the precincts of the city. You tear gas them, you pepper spray them, you strip them of shirts, and then you come back later at the police headquarters and say, we regret what happened yesterday.
Now-
and you expect us to believe you?
Now, if it's unfortunate, none of you were actually there. But
But we have the privilege of sharing raw
yes,
footage.
yes, you do have the privilege, yes. But according to those who were actually there, even in the press conference that we had, they indicated very well the level of protection that the police gave them until they reached Ginger Road. You get it? It was at Ginger Road that when other police officers did engage them. And in the
I need
process,
to take a break, Fred, and just wait, Joseph and Fred. I'm thinking, which of these two statements are you making? That the journalists were working outside the law and regulation, and therefore you had to stop them, or that you had errant officers at Ginger Road that acted outside the labyrinth of authority? Which of those two statements are you actually making? Don't go away.